My fiancée slept with my cousin the week before our weddings, so I canceled everything and left her life in ruins. Without a word, I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I thought I'd found my forever person. Her name's Jenna. She's the kind of woman people naturally gravitate towards: smart, magnetic, effortlessly beautiful. She came from money, but she never acted like it. When we first met at a friend's graduation party, I figured I was out of her league. But she walked right up to me, asked about the book I was holding. We spent the entire night talking like we'd known each other for years. The next 3 years felt like a movie. We traveled, built routines, survived lockdowns together. I'd never felt more certain of anything. So, last fall, I bought a ring. It wasn't massive, just over $1 but I'd saved for months. Working side gigs on weekends just to afford something that felt worthy of her. She cried when I proposed in the park where we had our first date. Said yes before I even finished the question. Her family was thrilled. Mine was too, especially my mom. She'd always said Jenna was the best thing that ever happened to me. Everyone was excited for the wedding. Invitations went out. The venue was paid for. And we had less than a week to go. One of my groomsmen was my cousin Logan. We'd grown up like brothers. He was the kind of guy people loved at parties, always cracking jokes, always the center of attention. But there was always something about him I couldn't fully trust. That cocky grin, the way he always flirted a little too much with women, if one's taken. Still, he was blood. Jenna said he was harmless. The final week felt surreal. Tuxes were pressed. Vows were written. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like everything in my life was falling perfectly into place. But I didn't know it was already unraveling. The Monday before the wedding, everything started moving at lightning speed. Final fittings, family arrivals, flower delivery schedules, cake tastings. I barely had time to breathe, but I loved it. It felt like the final lap of a marathon I'd been running for years. My parents were buzzing with excitement. Jenna's mom kept calling it the event of the season. Everyone was smiling, laughing, buzzing with energy. Everyone except Jenna. She blamed it on stress. Said the pressure was getting to her, that she wasn't sleeping well. I got it. Weddings are intense. I told her to take some space, go get a massage, sleep in if she needed to. But something was off. She was short, with me detached, distracted. Her eyes didn't light up like they used to when we talked about the honeymoon or the vows. I chalked it up to nerves. I didn't want to be the insecure fiancé reading too much into things. Then Logan started. Hanging around more, he showed up unannounced at our apartment 2 days in a row, claiming he was just helping out with the bachelor party. He was unusually friendly with Gina, cracking jokes, nudging her shoulder, whispering things that made her laugh while I was across the room. I felt something tighten in my chest, but when I asked her about it later, she just waved it off. Logan's always like that, she said. You know, he doesn't have a filter. I did know. But this felt different. My mom pulled me aside that night. I don't want to stir anything, she said gently, but I saw Jenna and Logan talking during the rehearsal dinner, and it didn't look like small talk. I told her to let it go. I didn't want drama right before the biggest day of my life, but that night I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Jenna's smile, not the warm one meant for me, but the one she gave him, and I didn't know why it made my stomach turn. The next morning, I woke up before Jenna. I just lay there watching her breathe, trying to convince myself I was being paranoid, but something had shifted. There was a weight behind her eyes lately, a tightness in her voice. It felt like she was hiding something, but I didn't want to believe it. Not her. Not Jenna. Still, I started paying closer attention. She took longer than usual to text me back. Said her phone was blowing up from wedding vendors. Fair enough. But when I walked past her while she was texting, she tilted the screen away quickly, like instinct. I told myself it was nothing, but my gut didn't agree. Then I found the hotel receipt. It was stuffed inside the center console of my car, wedged between papers. Not mine. It had Logan's name on its reservation for a single room at a hotel downtown. Dated 3 nights ago. I froze. I stared at it for a long time, my hands cold and shaking, before quietly slipping it into my wallet. That evening, Jenna said she was tired and went to bed early. I sat on the couch, phone in my hand, debating for an hour before I did it. I opened her phone. She'd recently reset it. Messages gone. Search history cleared. I knew her passwords. I knew her patterns. And I knew this wasn't normal. I scrolled through her camera roll, her emails, anything, nothing. It was like she'd scrubbed herself clean. And suddenly, I wasn't just suspicious, I was terrified. I started checking Logan's social media. His Instagram was full of old photos from the bachelor party planning. But I noticed something weird. He'd untagged himself from Jenna's birthday photos just a few days prior. Why would he do that? I sat in the dark for hours, the walls closing in, listening to Jenna breathing in the next room like everything was fine, but I knew something was rotting underneath it all, and I wasn't sure I wanted to know how deep it went. 2 nights before the wedding, Logan hosted the bachelor party. He insisted on planning the whole thing, said it was his gift to me. Rented out a cabin an hour outside the city, just the guys. No phones, pure bonding, he called it. I didn't want to go. I had 1,000 things on my mind, but backing out would have looked suspicious. And maybe, just maybe, this was my chance to get the truth. I packed a bottle of whiskey, but I didn't drink. I pretended to sip, to stumble, to laugh along, all while keeping my eyes sharp. Logan was in rare form, loud, laughing, the star of the night. But I noticed how often he checked his phone, how he'd step outside for air every half hour. I waited. Around midnight, most of the guys were passed out or too drunk to notice anything. I slipped into Logan's room while he was out on the porch, pretending to take a call. I didn't want to stoop this low, but I had to know. His phone was on the nightstand. Unlocked eye opened his messages. There it was. A conversation with Jenna. Recent. Flirty. Inappropriate. One message stood out like a dagger. That night meant something. Even if he never finds out. My blood ran cold. I could hear Logan laughing just outside the window as I read the rest short, teasing replies from him. Her saying she couldn't stop thinking about the way it happened. Him asking if she still wanted to go through with the wedding. I put the phone back. Walked out like nothing happened. Inside, I was burning. I didn't say a word. Didn't confront him. Didn't scream. I smiled, poured another drink, and raised a glass. Because in that moment, I knew something he didn't. He'd just handed me the match. Now I was going to burn it all down. The next morning, I barely spoke. I faked a hangover, nodded along to everyone's jokes, and quietly drove back home while Logan blasted music in the passenger seat like nothing had happened. I wanted to pull over and punch him in the face. I wanted to scream at him to admit it. But I didn't. I couldn't, not yet. Because I needed more than just a message. I needed undeniable proof. That night, I called my friend Aaron. He's the kind of guy who builds his own computers for fun and talks. It's about data encryption like it's a second language. I didn't tell him everything's just that I needed help recovering deleted data from Jenna's old iCloud backups. He hesitated, then said, "Bring the phone. I'll see what I can do." The next few hours were agonizing. We sat in his dark apartment, screen glowing, fan worry, as lines of code and software tools crawled across the monitor. Then suddenly he found something. A partial message thread from 2 weeks ago. Saved automatically before her phone reset. And just like that, the truth spilled out. I needed something wild before I settled down. Don't act like you didn't want it to. He doesn't have to know. It was just one night. There were pictures. Blurry, grainy, taken in a dim hotel room, but clear enough. One was a shot of Logan shirtless, her hand visible in the corner of the frame. Wearing the bracelet I gave her last Christmas, I felt numb. Years of love, of sacrifice, of building a life with someone I thought was real, all shattered in a folder labeled recovered messages. Rand didn't say anything. He just looked at me like he wanted to apologize for finding it, but I didn't need sympathy. I needed a plan, and it was already forming in my head. The next morning, I woke up with one thought in my head. They don't deserve a scene. They deserve silence. No screaming match. No drama. No second chances. Just consequences. I poured myself a coffee, stared out the window, and got to work. First, I logged into the wedding vendor accounts. Jenna had no idea I had full access. I canceled the florist, the caterer, the photographer. The venue contract had a 48-hour clause. I made the call and pulled the plug with hours to spare. Then I emptied the joint savings account or wedding fund. I'd contributed 90% of it anyway. I transferred every dollar into a new account in my name, closed the old one, froze the wedding registry, locked her out of everything, all in one morning. Jenna called around noon, asking if I wanted to meet at the venue for the final walkthrough. I said I was running behind and would catch up later. My voice was calm. It's calm. She didn't notice. That afternoon, I booked a hotel an hour outside the city under a fake name and paid in cash. I didn't want anyone finding me, not yet. I also printed out every message, every picture, every timestamp I'd recovered. Then I slipped the manila envelope into the mailbox addressed to her parents' home. No note. Just the truth, in black and white. I sent another copy to my own parents, and one final copy to Logan's girlfriend, who had unknowingly followed Jenna on Instagram. A quiet click of a DM with a zip file and a simple line, "You deserve to know." By 5 p.m., it was done. The wedding was off. No one knew yet. Not Jenna, not Logan, not their parents. But the match was lit, and I was already walking away. The next morning, my phone started vibrating like it was on fire. First came the missed calls from Jenna, then her mom, then Logan. Dozens of them. I didn't answer a single one. I just watched the screen light up while I drank my coffee in that quiet hotel room, knowing exactly what had just detonated. Around 9 a.m., I got the first text that confirmed it. "What is this? You kidding me right now?" It was from Jenna's mother. Then Logan, "Dude, just talk to me, please." And finally, Jenna. Her message was short. "Please, I can explain." I didn't reply. I wouldn't give them that power. They had played their part behind my back. They could play it in front of everyone. By noon, her parents had posted a vague but tense update online due to unforeseen circumstances. The wedding has been postponed. But behind the scenes, it wasn't postponement. It was collapse. Her father apparently confronted her with the evidence. Word traveled fast through the family grapevine, my cousin's girlfriend well. X responded with a blistering Facebook post tagging both Jenna and Logan. Screenshots, dates, captions ripped from old photos. No filters, no euphemisms. Just pure scorched earth honesty. Logan was kicked out of his parents' house. Jenna's family told her to leave until she could explain herself like an adult. And me? I turned off my phone and went for a long walk in the woods behind the hotel. The air was cold, crisp. Birds chirping like nothing had happened. It felt like I was floating somewhere between heartbreak and peace, because for the first time in weeks, I wasn't confused anymore. I knew exactly who they were, and I'd finally stopped protecting them. 2 days after the wedding that never happened, Jenna showed up at my apartment. I wasn't there, but the building's security cameras caught everything. Her pounding on the door, sitting on the front steps with mascara streaking down her face. Screaming my name, like it would undo what she did, she stayed there for almost an hour. By then, the fallout had already hit her like a freight train. Her parents froze her credit cards and told her to stay somewhere else until she figured her life out. Her Java boutique PR firm, her aunt, helped her get quietly asked her not to return for the week. Too many whispers. Too much embarrassment. Reputation meant everything in her world. Her social media. Once perfectly curated, with smiling couple photos and pastel aesthetic, was now a war zone. My friends didn't hold back in the comments. Neither did her ex-coworkers. Even strangers started chiming in once Logan's ex-girlfriend's post went viral. Screenshots had been reshared over 2,000 times. She sent me long, rambling emails saying it was a mistake that she was drunk. That it wasn't about love, just a moment of weakness. She tried to blame the stress of the wedding, said she'd felt suffocated, that it just happened. She begged me to talk to her, just once. The last message she sent ended with, "Please, I can't sleep. I need to hear from you, even if it's just to say you hate me." But I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The silence was doing all the talking. And as I watched her fall apart from a distance, I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel cruel. I felt free because I realized something important. The worst pain wasn't in losing her. It was in believing she'd never hurt me in the first place. Logan didn't implode as loudly as Jenna did, but his fall was uglier in its own way. He'd always been the golden boy in our extended family. Funny, charming, effortlessly likable. Everyone forgave his scoops, because that's just Logan. But this time, no one was laughing. His parents were humiliated. His dad, my uncle, called my mom in disbelief, saying he didn't raise a backstabber. My mom didn't even defend him. She just said, "Well, now you know how it feels." Logan texted me a few times after everything blew up. "I messed up, man. Can we just talk like cousins?" She came on to me first. It was one time we were drunk. I didn't mean for it to happen. The last one hit me differently. So I did something subtle, but brutal. I took a screenshot of that final message. It was one time. I posted it on my Instagram story. No names, no tags. Just those 4 words in a black text box on a white background. People connected the dots instantly. His ex reposted it with her own caption. "One time was enough to wreck for people's lives. Hope it was worth it." Within a day, Logan deleted all his socials. Word got around that he lost his job to his boss, didn't want that kind of drama hanging over the company. Nobody was defending him anymore. He went from center of attention to social leper, almost overnight, and me. I sat in my car, hands on the wheel, phone buzzing beside me. I didn't care what he had to say anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't heartbroken. I just didn't see him as family anymore. Because real family doesn't look you in the eye, lie to your face, and sleep with the woman you were about to marry. I moved out of our shared apartment a week after the fallout, packed what was mine, tossed what wasn't, and left the key on the counter. No note, no goodbye, just silence. Jenna never came back to collect her things, not while I was there. I think she knew better. I relocated to a small town 2 hours away, got a short-term lease on a 1-bedroom apartment above a bookstore. It was nothing fancy, creaky floors. Thin walls, but it was mine. Quiet, clean, a place without ghosts in the corners. I threw myself into work, picked up freelance projects, reconnected with old friends I hadn't seen in years. Felt like I was just distracting myself, but slowly I realized I was rebuilding. Not just routines. Myself, I didn't rush to date again. People suggested it, tried to set me up, told me I deserved someone better, but I wasn't looking to replace what I lost. I was learning to live without it. Every so often, I'd get messages from people who heard what happened, friends, acquaintances, even strangers who'd seen the viral posts. Most of them said the same thing. "I don't know how you stayed so calm. You handled it with so much grace." It wasn't grace. It was exhaustion. I was done fighting for people who didn't fight for me. One evening, I sat at a diner by the window with a cup of coffee and realized I didn't feel hollow anymore. I wasn't carrying the weight of betrayal. I wasn't checking my phone every 5 minutes. I wasn't looking over my shoulder, wondering when the next hit would come. For the first time in months, I felt still, and that stillness felt more powerful than any revenge ever could. It had been nearly a year since the wedding that never happened when I saw her name light up my inbox again, Jenna Parker. Subject line, "Please read this." I almost deleted it on instinct, but something made me open it. The email was long, rambling. Emotionally, too polished to be raw, but too desperate to be strategic. She said she'd been in therapy, trying to unpack her self-destructive behavior. She blamed her upbringing, the pressure to be perfect, and some vague attachment issues. She said she hadn't spoken to Logan in months, that she'd paid the price in every possible way. And then came the twist. She said she'd gotten pregnant. She didn't know if it was mine or Logan's. Either way, she lost the baby a few months in. Complications, she said. Stress. She didn't offer details. Just a heavy-handed line that pain changed me in a way nothing else could. She asked to meet, not to rekindle anything. "I know I lost you forever," she wrote, "but to get closure." Said she needed to apologize face-to-face. Said she didn't want to carry the weight of who she was when she destroyed me. I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe in the city. She looked older, worn down, like someone who hadn't slept properly in months. I didn't. She said all the things she thought I needed to hear, how sorry she was. how she'd wake up crying in the middle of the night. How she finally understood what she threw away. When she was done, leaned in and said quietly, "I forgave you a long time ago. But forgiveness isn't the same as trust, and I'll never trust you again." Her lips trembled. Her eyes watered. "You're not the same person anymore," she whispered. I stood up, dropped a $10 on the table, and looked her dead in the eye. "Exactly." And then I walked out. I drove home in silence after that meeting. No music, no distractions. Just the hum of the road beneath me and the echo of her voice in my head. But strangely, it didn't hurt anymore. Not like before. It didn't twist my stomach or tighten my chest. It just passed through me. That's how I knew I was done. In the months that followed, I didn't think about her much. I didn't need to. I'd already buried the version of me who believed her lies, who bent over backwards to be enough. In his place stood someone quieter, sharper. Not colder, but wiser. People always talk about closure like it's this huge moment. A big cry. A final confrontation. But real closure isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's sitting in your own skin and not flinching anymore. It's walking away without needing to be understood. I got back into hobbies I'd forgotten. Photography. Cooking for one. Hiking early in the morning when no one else was on the trail. I built a new life, not better or worse than before, just mine. No pretending. No performing every now and then. I'd get a message from someone who saw the post or heard the story secondhand. They all said the same thing. You handled it like a ghost. Like a man who disappeared just before the explosion. And maybe that's true. But the truth is, I didn't disappear. I chose peace over chaos. Silence over spectacle. Dignity over vengeance. And in the end, that was the loudest revenge I could have ever delivered. When people ask if I'm bitter, I just smile and say, not even close. Because I didn't just survive betrayal, I turned it into my beginning, and I left her behind in the ruins she built for herself.